Welcome back to my channel, The Gentle Flamingo. This is the final video of my nerdy Gurdy build. Well, my first one at least. I have some ideas I want to try out with another one. Anyway, in this final video, I'm going to be finishing up the melody bridge, putting on some strings, and getting this thing tuned up. So let's get started. I'll be using these 4 small parts, and I'll also finish up this piece to the left, which is kind of equivalent to the nut on a guitar. It works with these bread loaf looking pieces of the melody bridge to define the scale length of the strings. Because these pieces need to be able to potentially move if needed, I'm going to sand the side smooth with some 220 grit sandpaper. After sanding, I'm going to take a small triangular file and file the back sides of the notches a little deeper and wider. This helps to ensure that the melody strings have as close to the same scale length as possible. I'm going to do my best to make the unfiled bit of each notch the same width for both notches. This side needs just a little bit more. That should do it. Then I'll repeat the process with the final 4 pieces of the melody bridge. Again, I'll do a bit of filing on the notches of the 2 bread loaf pieces. To make sure I file the correct side of each piece, I'll set them out so they're mirror images of each other. It doesn't really matter which side you do, just make sure that your other piece is the mirror image of your first piece. Just like I did with the double notched piece, I'll try to make sure that the unfiled bit of both pieces is about the same width. Before putting these pieces into their places, I'll apply some wax to all sides of the triangular pieces and to the bottoms of the bread loaf pieces. To adjust the height of the melody bridge, these pieces need to be able to slide against each other and against the sides of the melody bridge. Those 10mm M3 bolts on either side of the melody bridge will push against the triangular piece to raise the bread loaf pieces to adjust string pressure on the wheel. Before I put these pieces into the melody bridge, I did have to do a little bit of sanding on the bridge itself for them to fit. Either I didn't get the parts of the bridge lined up just right, or there was some residue in there from applying the finish. Either way, an emery board solved the problem. Looking at the Gurdy from the handle end, I put the triangular pieces in first, with the side with the 90-degree corner facing up. And now for the bread loaf pieces with the filed part of the notches facing towards the handle. And I'll push them all the way down so that their tops are even. Next, I'll head to the other end of the Gurdy to this slot. And of course the first key sticks, and I'll just fix that off camera. When I put this piece in, I'll make sure that the filed parts of the notches face towards the tuners. And it fits right in. Next, I'll install the 10mm M3 bolts into the sides of the melody bridge. Watch closely and you'll see that top piece moving up. But I don't want it that high right now. And then I'll do the same to the other side of the melody bridge. Test it out and make sure that mechanism works. And it does. Alright, on to the strings. I'm going to install the melody strings first, which, according to the instructions, should be viola strings. I have this set of strings, and I need the G and A strings, which are strings 1 and 3. I'll start with the smaller melody string, unwind it, and thread it through the small hole on the drone side of this plate. I do a bit of fishing, but I eventually get it. Then I'll guide it over the bridge and wheel, through the end plate of the key box and between the 2 rows of tangents, over the nut to this tuner. I'll give the free end a bit of a bend to help it stay into place, and then wind it onto the tuner, starting with a bit of slack to make sure enough of the string winds onto the tuner to hold it in place. And turn 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 and turn. I like to hold some tension on the string as I turn the tuner to make sure the string winds neatly. That's good enough for now. I'll tighten the strings more when I tune in just a little bit. I'm going to leave all the strings on their mutes until I'm ready to tune. Now I'll repeat the process for the lower melody string on the other side of the melody bridge. Next, I'll install the drone strings using this set of cello strings. I'll need the G and C strings, which are strings 3 and 4. I'll start with the lower drone and thread it through the plastic-covered tunnel part of the ring terminal on the bottom of the drone side of the Gurdy. The little button on the end of the string will keep it from pulling all the way through. I'll guide the string over the outside notch, over the lower drone support, through the lower part of the keybox wing to the tuner nearest the end of the tuning head. And then it's just more winding fun. I'll repeat the process for the higher drone, going through the top ring terminal, over the middle notch and upper drone support, and under the keys to this tuner. And just like the other strings, I'll wind it until there's enough tension on the string to hold it in place. The last strings on this Gurdy are the trumpet strings. For those, I have this racket string, and I cut 2 lengths of it, making sure to cut them longer than I think I'll need. Before I put these strings on, I'll need to place these last 3 printed parts. The 2 dogs will fit into the trumpet bridge, and this riser fits over the innermost notch on this end of the Gurdy to align the higher trumpet string. I glued mine on so it wouldn't slide around on me. Since this racket string doesn't have a nice convenient button on the end, I'll tie a simple overhand knot and pull it tight. And then, just like the drone strings, I'll thread it through the ring terminal and up towards the trumpet bridge. And I'll go ahead and thread the other one on as well. This upper trumpet will run up over the riser, over the top part of the trumpet bridge, and back to this tuner. The lower trumpet string runs up over the outside notch, over the lower part of the trumpet bridge, and back to this tuner. Now plug your ears, it's time to tune. Alright, now that all these strings are on, I am ready to start tuning this thing up. So I will admit I did a little bit of troubleshooting before I started this. I tuned up the lowest melody string, and found that it was doing a fair bit of vibrating against the tangents. So the tangents were just a little bit too close to the string, so I went ahead and removed that strip of felt that I put on earlier, so the strings will just make the keys will just make a little bit of noise when they fall back into place, but it's not too bad. Also, I discovered that my wheel was not exactly flat. It was a little higher on the side towards the bridges than it was on the side towards the key box, so I had to do a little bit of scraping there to get that flat, but that was a good thing because it scraped off all my resin, so I can now show you how I put on the resin. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, it's just the way I do it. So I have my little resin cake, and I'm going to go ahead and put that lowest melody string on the wheel. You can see it doesn't get much sound, so I'm just going to apply resin until I get a sound. Again, I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it. Okay, get some sound. Now, that clicking that you're hearing is actually coming from the knob, not from the Gurdy itself, because I messed up one of my bearings in all the finagling I did with it earlier, so I'm going to have to replace that bearing. So if you can just deal with the clicking for now, I hope the sound of the Gurdy will drown it out. Alright, so let's get these melody strings tuned up. So I'm going to tune this kind of like I tune a guitar, so I'll tighten the string up some, let it rest for a little bit, see where it is, then tighten it up a little bit more. I'm sure everybody has their own way of tuning their strings, but this is just my way of doing it. So I'm going to start with this low string, low melody string, which is the low G, which according to my notes is supposed to be G4. Oh, excuse me, G3. I've got those backwards in my notes and it's been confusing me. G3, which is the G below middle C. So there's middle C. That's the G I'm tuning to. Alright, let that rest for a second and I'll start working on the higher string, which is supposed to be G3, so G4. I told you I had it backwards in my notes and it's confusing me. So G4, which is the G above middle C. Wrong direction. Alright, let it rest there. Go back to the other one. Neat. And we'll just keep working them back and forth. E flat. Now your strings will stretch. Almost there. As I was saying just a second ago, your strings will stretch, so at least at the beginning and probably throughout your Gurdy's life, you will constantly need to retune. Because everything from humidity to temperature affects these wooden instruments. So, just part of the gig. Sounds like I still got a little bit of a low spot on my wheel. But I'm satisfied with it. For now, at least. Yep, right in there. Now here's the part where it's revealed that I am very much a novice player. But at least I can build one, right? Sounds okay, I think. So, let's see if we can get these drums on. Let's actually move melody strings off. Not quite making contact yet. Oh, come on. Yes, you do. Might need to get a different screwdriver. Yep, need a different screwdriver. One moment. Okay, found a better screwdriver. Now we're just going to run this in until that string makes contact with the wheel. Barely hear it, but it'll get better when you tune it up. So let's see, what am I? The low G is supposed to be tuned to a G2. So 3, 2. Practically there, actually. Flat. Oops. That would explain why nothing was happening. That was actually one of the trumpet strings. Alright, let's go a little further. Now these I am going to have to tune several times because they will go flat quickly. Not quite enough, a little bit more. Not much sound out of that one, but let's see if it will improve once we tighten it up just a little bit. I am going to C3, which is that. I'm not very flattish right now. Let that rest. Let's see what my melody strings are doing. Yeah, one little low spot. Oh well. Wrong direction. Well, a low spot. Oh. Hello? Oh. Would help if you get it in the right place. These are going to stretch. Alright, let's do some work on these trumpets over here, see if we can get them working. Okay, let's see if we can get these going. So it's supposed to be G3 and C4. Alright, let's start with the lower one. So I already had my dogs out. So let's put those back in. So my target is G3. Alright, let that rest. Let's get the other one back in. Not making much contact, but you might need your tiered strings on there first. Alright, let's do that. Cool, okay. Alright. Let's get those on there. Oh, you're so close. In preparation for putting on the tyrant strings, is it tyrant or tyrant? Either way, I do need to fit these pegs in. The pegs I have are a bit too big, so I'm going to grab a round file and do a bit of filing, which is easier for me to do at the moment rather than try to shave the pegs down. Now I'll mark and drill a small hole at the end of each peg. I grabbed this hand quilting thread to use as my tyrant strings. I have no idea what length I'll need, so I just cut a length that is approximately the same width of the Gurdy at this point. Now I'll fold each string in half and attach it to a trumpet string with a lark's head knot, or cow hitch, or double half hitch, or whatever you prefer to call this particular knot. Now I'll thread the lower string up through the far hole in the bridge and through the hole in the peg. Then tie a quick square knot, trim off the extra, and set the peg in place. Now I can wind up the slack. And then I'll repeat the process for the other string. I don't know if it matters which string goes to which peg. I chose to do it this way because the dog on my top trumpet string keeps flipping up, and I was hoping this arrangement would prevent that. Turns out it didn't. I had to do some modification on the dog to fix this. So this is what the dog looks like after modification, and this is what it looked like before I got a hold of it. I really snubbed it down so it would fit into its slot a little tighter and not flip up on me. Now, because I took so much off the back of the dog, I ended up with a little too much string pressure, so I had to move this bridge piece out a little to make it right again. It used to sit back against these raised parts, but now it sits out from them a little bit. Boop! Cat at the door. And the last little part of setup I'll do on this video is to put some cotton on the strings. I am still very new at this, and I have yet to make some liquid rosin, so let's see how this goes. I'll start by pulling a little wisp from my cotton roving. With the lighting here, it does look like more than it actually is. It really is just a little wisp. And of course my hand is in the way, so you can't really see what I'm doing. Let's see if I do a better job at showing this one. This is the part that I really have no idea if I'm doing correctly or not, so enjoy my first attempts at this process that will take a bit of practice to perfect. I'll just do my best to touch only strings and cotton and keep my fingers off the wheel because skin oils aren't too good for rosin. Yeah, I didn't do too hot on that one. I think I had too much cotton. Perhaps some liquid rosin would make them a bit smoother, but I've yet to make some. And now I have to play a little with the tension of the tirant strings and, of course, the buzzing bridges. I do make sure, though, that the tirant strings are perpendicular to the trumpet strings. And now here we are, a nice finished Gurdy, along with dog hair all over my pants. Sorry. Enjoy my amateur playing around. I know concepts, but I lack technique. Okie dokie. Besides a few minor tweaks and adjustments and actually learning how to play this thing, this nerdy-gurdy build is finished. I've really enjoyed working on this little instrument, and I can't wait to try some new ideas out on another one. But first, though, there are a few other projects that I need to get marked off my list. Thank you so much for joining me for this first nerdy-gurdy journey. And if you like what you see, consider giving these videos a like or subscribe if you want to see what other shenanigans I get up to. Bye. And I don't like any of this because I don't know what I'm saying and I'm pausing a lot. Yes. Alright, start this over. Although there are a few other projects. Blah, 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 blah. This is gonna take a while.